So, what do you guys consider valuable? Is it whether or not on the TV a bunch of people are wearing it? Is it whether or not it's being covered by a particular social media page? Do you guys think that stuff with value, does it come with value? Like when you buy it, like part of the deal is that it has value? Do you think that stuff that's valuable is plastic? Like is plastic valuable? Do you think that having it be cheap, does that mean that it's valuable? Do you think making it expensive, does that make it valuable? Now, the reason why I ask these questions is because I'm going to tell you what I think is valuable. What I think is valuable is stuff that it lasts you a good amount of time. We're going to start there. What I have learned is there's this term that they decided to make up for us. It's called planned obsolescence. And essentially, what this means is that everything is kind of given a hypothetical shelf life that isn't hypothetical at all. And then at some point, you're like, oh, yeah, you know what? Maybe it's time to replace this thing. I thought about it and I realized, like, man, is there a way to live life where you can kind of just live without having to replace things? And I came I came to keep asking that question. I'm still asking that question to this day. Just that the answer's there. And what I found out was that a lot of the things that I found valuable 6 years ago, after time and after plenty of experience, I got to this point where I realized, man, you know what? It might not be too valuable for me. Valuable can also be like a sentimental thing, right? I'm more so speaking about value in the sense that what you're doing in terms of the exchange is worth you having it for as close to forever as possible. There's this subreddit page called Buy It for Life. It's a treasure trove for anyone that's looking for any kind of advice on what to buy if like you're gonna go hiking, if you're gonna become a chef and you want some culinary tools, if you're looking to be somebody who's putting up a wedding registry, that's a great place for ideas. Buy It for Life subreddit. And the reason why it's important is because you have a bunch of people who are in there who are also like minded. And beyond them being like minded, they're also completely okay with sharing what they feel, what they think, what they've experienced. And see, the fascinating thing about all this is that this subreddit is readily available to every person in the world. And the fascinating thing about why this subreddit matters is because this subreddit, like I mentioned, has people who are actually experiencing it in real time and aren't paid by anybody other than the fact that they paid for the product, maybe based off of someone else's recommendation, and yet they aren't being paid to share what they feel. So even if the product is meant for one thing, maybe the product is meant for a specific amount of time, there's a whole bunch of people in there who maybe have done it differently, found out something else. And for me, it's an interesting conversation to have because there was a point in my time, like most people I would assume, where they went from, oh, I have a backpack on my back. Oh wait, that person is rolling their backpack. Can I roll my backpack? What's it like having a rolling backpack? If I were to get a rolling backpack, how much would it be? If I were to get a rolling backpack, what color would I get it? If I were to have a rolling backpack, what would that mean for me and where would I put it in my classroom? Because it's not going to fit on the back of my chair, right? So then what happened to me, and I'll just share this little story with you, was that I saw that I wanted one particular rolling backpack. Why? Because when I talked to this person happened to have a rolling backpack that their older brother and sister were also rolling around. And the reason that the older brother and sister were rolling around those backpacks was because they were older. And because they were older, they had more experience. And because they had more experience, they had the time to figure out whether or not they could carry that backpack for more than just the third grade. Oh, they were carrying it into the sixth grade. Oh, wait, how about that? Right? And so, me being 9 years old and asking these questions and realizing all these things, I realized, like, wait, beyond there being physical classmates, there's also whole countries that are completely in tune with making things that are going to last as long as possible. So, thank you, Japan, and thank you, Germany. And I realized, like, wow, if I could just buy what those people buy, or buy something from these countries, or buy something myself and just be like, okay, is this worth it? And then find out whether or not it's worth it. That's one thing, right? But then, and like, this is like the fascinating part about all this is like, money used to be this thing where it would kind of actually be a temperature gauge, where if you spend a certain amount of money, you kind of were buying better quality products, more reliable products, more dependable products. And by spending the extra money, you actually furthered the ability to have that product be used. It wasn't like I'll just tell you this. I would say that I went through at least 5 different backpacks my entire life. My entire life. And then I realized when I was in college, I realized, you know what? I'm about to enter the workforce, the real world, right? What if, and as fortunate at the position that I am, I'm sitting here saying, you know what? I'd rather just have one thing for the holidays. I want that backpack. I want the backpack that has been tried and tested by a literal person who uses it on a day-to-day basis. And not only that, but it's their company. So he's putting his own rubber stamp of approval, saying, yeah, out of all of the backpacks you can buy the backpack that I wear, that I use every single day, and I'm essentially vicariously living with that person on social media and witnessing, like, oh wow. Beyond the fact that I witnessed that one person wear that in 2017, I'm also sitting here realizing I see plenty of people even to this day using that same brand. So guess what happened? I have the backpack. But that was also based off of personal experiences, or me learning at a younger age, like, you know what? Even though that I recognize value in a particular brand and a particular product, even though I was given a backpack that rolls and it wasn't literally the brand that the other people had, it's not that I wasn't grateful for the backpack. It honestly, now that I'm like looking back, and I'm totally okay, by the way, is that my voice and me resonating with the fact that I personally, at the age of like 11 or 12, was sitting there looking at what I thought was logic, pretty sound logic at that, realizing, like, oh wait, by taking these people's advice and their expertise in the regard to the fact that they take care of their things and they happen to carry more things in their load than I would have, and they use the same one for more than 3 years, and I have to get a new one essentially every year. It just became this whole thing about, like, man, I totally get it. That backpack, it's not that, it had nothing to do with the brand, it had nothing to do with the money. Why didn't these, and like, of course I can keep asking the question for the rest of my life, but now I'm asking, it's almost like, why did no one believe me? And that's the thing with value. is that there's people who are going to be going out in the real world and they're going to say, hey, I want the most expensive thing on the menu. Must be a good value. And I'm thinking about it and I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, can that person cook that thing? I don't know. Can they? Seems like a pretty good value if they feel like that they could pay for it and someone could cook it for them. Just in the same way that it's like, oh wow, they got all these perks and these points for all these places and all these stores and all these things, and it's like, man, wouldn't it actually be a good value if the price of the product was actually cheaper originally? Like, isn't that actually value? Because then there's also people who are like, yeah, I'm gonna sell this tea, and this tea is gonna have all of these ices, all the ice, and what's gonna happen is that the ice is gonna be literally displacing the amount of liquid that can be placed into the cup. Wouldn't it be more value if you had a cold cup or the product was already cold? I mean, I'm just saying. It's just like what, how would, how are you defining value? For example, Five Guys fries. Is that value? They're literally handing you double the amount that you paid for every time. But the reality is that they're charging you as if you bought two from the other guys. But at the same time, can you make those fries? And at the same time, you paid for a portion, and then they give you extra so you can eat it on your way home. Tell me, is that value? Yesterday, I filled up gas, and at the club store, it was a whole 80 cents cheaper per gallon than the one at the corner. Is that value? I have all these photos where it was like, oh, I'm selling this thing. I'm selling this shirt. I'm selling this hoodie. Designer, right? Designer this, designer that. Is it value to be buying designer? Like, is designer in itself valuable? What would make a designer item valuable? I guess hypothetically, if it was on the runway, I mean, objectively, that would be something of value that is valuable, right? One that was literally the one that went on the runway, the literal one that went on the runway, right? But then the whole valuable thing is like a whole possession based like attachment theory kind of conversation to be having. Because, for example, if you saw that at the most expensive designer store, every item that they had that they were selling was 100% cotton or 100% linen or 100% wool, and plastic just was removed entirely from their product chain. Couldn't you easily make the decision and be like, oh, so it's actually the either the quality of the cotton is valuable, which is a raw material in itself, like point blank zero. Because then you look at a diamond, and are diamonds valuable if you can go into a lab and poop out more diamonds? Because is then gold valuable? Because then the other conversation to be having with gold is if you can turn other elements into gold, would any element be valuable if you can make every element from another element? Let's have that conversation one day. And so then it becomes a whole thing of like are tissues more expensive, or sorry, are tissues more valuable than printer paper? But see, those are two ready-made products. Because then the other way of looking at it is, are you going to use toilet paper as tissues, Kleenex paper, or are you going to go use a box of tissues for tissue paper or toilet paper? Like, value is such a fascinating thing, because when you remove yourself from something that you value, where it's like sentimental and all this other stuff. It's like you instantly go and apply yourself to the point where, does this have value in the world? For example, you go thrifting, right? What do you think is most valuable for you to be buying? Well, objectively, you're going to go buy the jeans. Why? Well, first off, they don't make half those jeans anymore. Second off, the quality of that cotton, tell me where you can go get that today. Third off, it's got a particular fade to it, every single one of them, that it can find that you can't, like, how are you going to, I mean, I've replicated it before, but for just some of the stuff, it's like, how are you to sit there and be like, oh yeah, I can replicate that. Maybe you can. And if you can, let me know. But the point here is that value. Value can be something that can be passed down. Value can be something that is taught. Value can even be something that you look at and you're like, oh wow, this incense over here is $45. And this incense happens to be made of three different particular scents. How about I just go and I buy those three particular scents for $5 each, and I walk out of the store with $15 and three times as many incense value. Oh, at the grocery store, they're gonna upcharge you $2 because they're giving you a mason jar. Oh wait, hold on, wait a second. You mean to tell me that I can have fermented chilies and carrots and onions in a fermented pickled juice and the mason jar with the lid and the suction cup thing, and all they have to do is charge me $2 extra, because that also saves me from having to buy a cup, because I get to keep the jar. And then the best part about that is, the next time that I want the same product, I just take it all back and they hand me a $2 discount, which essentially means the cup, I don't have to pay for that anymore, because I already deposited the cup, the first cup I bought. But again, I have a cup. Oh wait, hold on. The second go around, I just realized I could take pasta once I'm done with, my whatever is inside my mason jar. I could take pasta to work. I could put sauces in this thing. So you have a multi-purpose, multi-use tool. Is that value? Tell me. Tell me that is value. Huh? I just love thinking so much. You The journey of having a thought and being able to be lucid like this, I love this feeling. It feels so good to be somebody who can just. So yes, value. Today is the 22nd of the third month, aka March 2025. Next episode will be episode on what is considered quality. Ah, lovely. Take care. All the best.